In this video, I want to talk a very powerful day trading indicator, volume profile. Now, let me be very transparent up front. I'm not suggesting this is the holy grail. I'm not suggesting if you use this, then next week you're going to be shopping for a Lamborghini. My point here is that I want to open your eyes to consider potentially adding it into your strategy, giving it a try. Maybe it can help you fine tune a few things. Maybe it doesn't, and that's fine too. But like I said, I think it's a very, very visually appealing way to go about the market, and it helps you see some very, very important pieces of data, that main bit of data being volume. So let's quickly talk about volume, and then I'll go to my desktop and show you this and how it can be used, what it's telling you. So volume is just telling us about a transaction, where transactions took place. Now, what makes up a transaction? Well, you have a buyer and a seller. If you go to the store to buy an apple, you are the buyer, the store is the seller. Nothing complicated there at all. So transactions, that is a good bit of data to know as traders and investors. Where are lots of transactions happening? At what price are they happening? Those can be, again, not holy grail pieces of data, but pieces of data that, by all means, I would argue are very, very relevant point from any sort of trade plan construction, or even if from an investing construction. So that's what it's telling us. It's telling us where transactions are taking place via buyers and sellers. Again, just encapsulating that with a single term of volume. And then profile is just, let's think of it, a side profile. What does that mean? You're looking at what somebody looks like from the side. And that's what's going to be happening here. So let's go to my desktop and I'll show you this really quickly from a platform perspective, because I know people will ask, Clay, what platform are you using? This is Webull platform. I will put a link down below if you want to use this platform and start to use it for your volume profile and all of that. And for transparency's sake, that is an affiliate link. So if you sign up using that link, I will get something, but you'll get something too, which is always great. They're always running promotions. So just keep that in mind. But like I said, let's go to my desktop and I'll start to walk you through and show you the volume profile. And then we can start to kind of dig a little bit more deeper into it. So here we are looking at Webull's charts, and just to show you how to use it, whether maybe you're not familiar with how you can even find this as a Webull user, or maybe you're going to start to use Webull, so I'll show you in either situation. But I come up here and then under indicators, come down there and right click VP for, again, volume profile. And then you can see right there, first off, just the whole side profile thing. So that's where the terminology is coming from. It's just showing an interesting piece of data from the side. And what is this data? Well, as we've discussed, volume, showing those transactions of buyers and sellers. So it's very, very easy to see, well, where did lots of transactions take place? Where did lots of buyers and sellers get together and then agree on a deal? And I'm going to assume that you have at least some understanding of technical analysis with some of these terms. But the first bit would be, let's just say this. Let's say that the price starts to drop. My question would be, well, where do you see any areas where lots of people bought before? And while this one in this situation is not super, super obvious, hopefully you're saying, well, look at this bar down here. This bar right there is certainly bigger than, that bar or that bar or that bar, that one and that one, right? It does stand out quite a bit more. Now, what does this tell you? Well, this tells you that down at this area here previously, there were a lot of transactions that took place. You did have a lot of buying that took place around this area. Now, yes, for every buyer, there's a seller. So you could also say there was lots of selling that took place. But the point here being is there was enough buyers where the price really did not make it any sort of further downwards. In fact, if anything, you would argue the opposite, because the price ultimately did bounce back up, as you can see right there. So back to my original question, if the price does start to fall, where could you see buyers stepping in? Where could you see, a quote unquote bounce potentially happening? Now, I need to be very clear, and we'll continue to say all this. In no way I'm saying any of this is going to be guaranteed to happen. There are no guarantees in the market. But like I said, our job as traders, our job as investors is to find rational areas, to find areas where you can say, oh, I can see why you would think that. Doesn't mean that it'll happen, but it makes sense. It's logical. You're not some sort of degenerate gambler that's just, taking a drink of vodka, spinning yourself around, putting on a blindfold, and then throwing a dart and finding a spot to build a trade plan around. No, nobody could accuse you of that. So right here, because of that volume bar, which you've discussed large, I could see you saying, okay, well, if the price comes down here at this point on the chart, I could be interested in potentially buying, because there were buyers down there before. It did bounce nicely before. So I can see that being a rational thought process. Now, here's the next question. I'll turn this into a quiz to see if you're beginning to put the pieces together. I would argue that this area right here, and let's just call it 182.50, has served as, it makes sense why the price is behaving in that way. And hopefully you're saying, well, yeah, Clay, you're saying that because look at this massive volume bar. So what does that tell us moving forward about, let's just call it 182.50. You can see the prices over here, but 182.50. What is that telling you about the price moving forward? Again, here's the quiz question here. And in fact, I'll let you pause. So I'll pause here myself. And if you want to hit the pause button to answer it. Okay, welcome back if you did pause. If not, then we just had ourselves a nice awkward silence together. But if you're saying, well, Clay, I would expect that area to be a resistance. I would expect that area to be pretty difficult to get through. Now, why would you say that, Hope? Well, I would say that, Clay, because look at all these transactions that took place and look at how the price has not once, but twice been rejected from that area, which tells me that, yeah, there are a lot of sellers up at that area. And sure, for every seller, there needs to be a buyer. So you could also say that there are lots of buyers up around there, but who ultimately won out? Well, the sellers are just too much because you can see the price ultimately did pull backwards. So that would lead you to say, okay, but that would make it a very interesting situation because if the price can come up to that area and get the break, that would be a clue that all these sellers, which there are a lot of, have been wiped out of the way, and now all these sellers have actually been converted into buyers, which is a good thing, assuming you are going long. Now, is all this going to play out like this? Is this guaranteed to happen? As I've said, no, but do you see the story that is being told by the volume profile? Do you see how you can start to put pieces together? Again, it's a very rational jumping logic to say, well, right now there are lots of sellers, but a break of that area right there could then convert these sellers into buyers, which is why a classic example exists within the world of charts, which states when levels of resistance are broken, they tend to act as support. Why is that? Well, this is why. You have a very representation because these, as they stand right now, sellers are going to require a lot of buyers to be overcome. But in order to overcome that, well, you need a lot of buying. And then at that point, if this is overcome, there's no longer a bunch of sellers sitting there. You have a bunch of buyers sitting right there. So there's where I can very rationally see people building a trade plan around there because now I can also see shorts. Somebody's saying short meaning, making money when prices go down. I can see a short saying, well, geez, there are a lot of sellers hanging up around there. So if the price goes back up there, it better take a bunch of buyers because if they don't, those sellers are going to win out like they did last time. So you could also set up a short-sided trade plan around that area. But the key dynamic here is because of all that volume, all those transactions that you knew took place right up around that 182.50 mark. So that's just a quick little example of how it makes things very, very visually appealing. How you can quickly get an idea of, okay, wow, yeah, a lot of volume, a lot of transactions took place at this point relative to that point. And from a time savings perspective, like I said, you can see here very quickly that you gain yourself quite a bit of time because it's very, at least for my eye, it's very visually appealing to the eye where you can quickly start to connect these data points and see where there could be potential supports, where there could be potential resistance levels. So whether you're playing breakouts or bounces, these sorts of data points in the volume profile can really make your time savings very quickly in terms of identifying where these areas may be. So if I did my job right, you now see how this is very powerful in the form of time savings, which I think we can all agree at the core, that's what we all desire. We want to be smart with our time. We want to use our time as efficiently as possible. And when you can get this very, very visual attribute of transactions and where those volumes took place, then you can start to save yourself time and ideally build yourself trade plans or maybe fine tune those trade plans to help make a little bit more sense and give yourself just that many more odds and edges as a trader, because that's what it's about. We want odds, we want edges. There's no way we can ever get a guarantee. So if you do have any other questions on the volume profile, by all means, let me know in the comment section below. If maybe you've already using it, maybe you have some tips something that you could add to the discussion, that'd be fantastic. Leave those down below. Again, if you do want to use Webull so you can get these volume profile indicators, like I said, use that link below and you'll get something. Usually they're giving away money or free stock. So definitely be sure to consider that too. But I hope this helps. I hope this opens your idea or your mind up to some other ideas and other tools that you could use to help fine tune those strategies that you're working on. Like I said, if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video as a whole, hit that like button. I appreciate you watching. And if you really like what you saw, then I'd love to have you as a subscriber to the channel. First off, thanks so much for watching the entire video. Real quick, before you go, I want to invite you to a live webinar, web class, training, workshop, online event, whatever you want to call it, but it will be me live revealing to you what I've discovered that has allowed me to transform myself from being an employee to being my own boss, including how I had only one losing day out of 73 days in total. I'm going to cover 3 keys that have helped me unlock profitable consistency within the markets. The first key is super weird, but in a productive type of way. The second key is super awesome because it quite literally is wired into our DNA as humans, making it very easy to use. But in a cruel way, this becomes a pitfall for many traders. I'll explain it all though, including how to avoid the pitfall that it creates for some. And yeah, the third key, when you hear it, sounds way too good to be true, but it's not, and I'll show you how it all works. Then at the end, I open it up for a question and answer session that is, again, totally live. Even if you can't make the live session, please still sign up as it will be recorded, and you can go back and watch the replay that I will send you. Click the image on the screen or click the link down in the description box so you can get the date and time and claim your spot, which I should note is limited due to the fact that this truly is a live event. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'll be seeing you soon.